is this. There are basically three groups of people in this passage. There are the Pharisees, there's the crowd, and there's the disciples. And what I want to do is I want to just go through and look at all three of these groups. And look what they said. And we'll look at some other passages from the other Gospels, kind of piece some things together, and you'll get more of a complete story. Let me encourage you as you read the Gospels. Sometimes it's good to go over and read another Gospel and see what it says about the same story, because it can give you another detail. So you'll see that this morning, that we'll just kind of piece this whole story together. But I want to look at these three groups of people. And I want you to see what's going on inside of them. What are they thinking? What are they experiencing, and so forth? The first group is the Pharisees, religious leaders. These are the Jewish religious leaders, and they see Jesus, and it's pretty easy. I mean, it's the same story. If you are aware of the Pharisees, and as many of you are in the Scriptures, you know they are anti-Jesus, and they are to the point where they just want to destroy him. And it says in verse number 19, it kind of leads us in this story this account of John. It kind of throws this at the very end. So the Pharisees said among themselves, "See, you're gaining nothing. Look, the world has followed him." And it's kind of really a over-exaggeration. This particular point, the world had not begun to follow Jesus. See, Jesus is just in Jerusalem. He's just in Israel. Many parts of the world had not probably even heard of Jesus, and so forth. But everybody's following him. And that's their problem. The problem is not, Jesus is this or Jesus is... The problem is that everybody is following him. Luke 19 gives us another passage. It says this: some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to him, and this is Luke's account of the same story, and Jesus comes into Jerusalem, and the crowd is, "Hosanna in the highest, King of Israel," and so forth, and they are praising his name. And some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to him, "Teacher, hey, Jesus, you need to rebuke your disciples. You need to stop this." And Jesus gives them a great answer, and he says, "Hey, I tell you, if these should be silent, the stones would immediately cry out." When it comes to Jesus getting his praise, he's going to get it. And if you don't give it to me, just nature will give it to me. The stones will cry out. I'm going to get my praise today no matter what. You're not going to stop it. But they're saying, "Hey, you need to stop." Why do they need to stop? What was the problem? Well, they were using these words, Hosanna and King. Matter of fact, when you look at all four of the Gospels, here's what Matthew says that they say. Matthew says they call him Hosanna and Son of David. Mark says Hosanna. In Luke 19, they call him a King. And here, as we just read in John 12, they call him Hosanna and King. And this word Hosanna means it's really a request. Hey, save us. It's a Hebrew word. It's a praise word, and it means, hey, save us, deliver us, please deliver us. It's asking something. You're the one who can deliver us. You're the one who can save us. You're the one who can help us, and you're the King. You're the leader. You're the Lord of the land. And so we are looking to you. And so the Pharisees, first of all, are saying, and they're getting it. I don't understand people who say Jesus was not God in the flesh, and they can read a passage like this and not realize that is exactly what everyone was thinking. And the Pharisees were trying to stop him. I mean, if Jesus was not God in the flesh, but he was just sent from God, then he must be honest, right? And you would have at least one verse in the gospel where Jesus would say, oh, wait a minute. Wait. No, I'm not God. I'm not saying that. I'm from God. He would have been somewhere, one time, he would have been so clear of who he was. But instead, he doesn't stop them. Why? Because he was God in the flesh, Mike. He was the Messiah. He was the one to come to save Israel. He was the deliverer of all mankind. Now, it's a little bit confusing right now because, when we'll see this in a minute, Israel's wanting to be delivered from Rome, and Jesus has come to deliver them from sin. And there's a little bit of a confusion here. But they list him out and say all this, and the Pharisees are just, man, you've got to stop this. Jesus says, no, there ain't no stopping it. True. It's who I am. There's no stopping it. And it's amazing to me. Listen to this. This is in John chapter 11. This shows you how everybody probably has heard the saying that insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I don't know why, but I was thinking about this passage, and I was like, no, this is more insane than that. I mean, this is really more insane. This kind of tops that quote, okay? Listen to what happens. This is when Jesus has raised Lazarus from the dead. Okay, the guy was dead. Okay, get it? Okay, this guy Lazarus died. Jesus shows up, and he says, "Hey, y'all, take that stone, get his body out." And his sister's like, "Lord, hey, Jesus, I'm glad you're here, but he stinketh." It's the King James Version, he smells. He's been in the ground for a few days. Jesus says, "You open up the grave." Calls him out. Dead man, who everybody knew was dead, who they had a funeral for, came out. Now, you could just imagine that, Hey, we were at Uncle Joe's funeral, and everybody was standing around the casket, and, we went out to the graveyard, and they wheeled him out and everything, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of the closing ceremony out on the graveside, the thing popped open, and Uncle Joe sat up and walked out. How crazy would that be? Just insane to even think about, right? And here's what it says about the Pharisees. Therefore, many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw what Jesus had done, that he had raised Lazarus from the dead, believed in him, okay? And some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. They go to these religious leaders, man, you won't believe, and listen to what he did. And then the chief priests and the Pharisees assembled in the Sanhedrin and said, "This is awesome. No, what shall we do? This man is performing many signs. What are we going to do about this?" Here's another verse. Same passage. "If we leave him alone like this, everyone will believe in him." What is so wrong with everyone believing in a guy who can raise the dead? Why is that a problem? If we leave him alone, boy, everybody's going to start following him. It's exactly what they just said in the passage of John 12. Hey, everybody's going to start following him. And what are we doing here? Everybody's going to start following him. And the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Now, that just doesn't make any sense either. You mean to tell me you want to stop this guy from raising people from the dead because people might follow him, and then the reason why you're worried about that is because if you don't, the Romans are going to come. I don't think the Romans had victory over the grave at all. You're worried about the Romans? You've got a guy who can call somebody out of the grave. Isn't that just a little bit more powerful than the Roman military? Yeah. So why are you worried about this guy? Here's what it says in John chapter number 12. "And when many of the Jews learned that he was there," and this is the passage that we talked about, or we just read, "they came not for their sakes only, but that they might also see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead." So So this is after Lazarus raised from the dead. People are showing up. They're, hey, yeah, that's that guy Lazarus I was telling you about. There he is right there, you know. And so this chief priest plan, listen to this, to put Lazarus to death also. Because on the account of him, many of the Jews went away and believed in Jesus. Now, the folks, that is insane. I mean, that is crazy. You have lost your marbles. This guy, okay, so get, you know, the whole story. Lazarus dies. Jesus shows up, raises him from the dead. You're scared. You're worried about your world being taken away, so you just want to deny him and then to cap it off, you want to kill Lazarus and kill Jesus? That just doesn't make any sense, does it? You know, here's the thing about this denial that they have, this hatred, if you will, that they have toward Christ is because in their minds, he's ruining their life. We're no longer going to be the one everybody looks to. We're no longer going to be the number one religious power. We let him come in. We don't do something about him, man. He's just going to destroy everything that we have worked for. You know, there's some people that look at their life with Jesus still the same way. Well, if I let Jesus in, he's just going to take away everything. Really? Guy who can defeat death? And then you really, it's just kind of a crazy thought too, that they actually think that they can kill Lazarus. I mean, what if you do? What if he raises him back from the dead again? Let's kill him again. You know, how many times are you going to kill Lazarus? I mean, it's just crazy. And obviously, Jesus has got a little bit of pull. He can defeat death. What makes you think you can destroy him? It's just so unreal that they were thinking this way. Now, the crowd's a little bit different. The crowd is just a little bit different. They come, and it says in verse number 12 that on the next day, a great crowd had come to the feast, heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem. And so they hear that he's coming, and they come with anticipation. In verse 13, it says they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, and they cried, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, King of Israel. Matthew chapter 21, I don't have that passage on the screen, but it tells us that they literally, that large crowds took their garments off and laid them down and allowed Jesus to come through on that colt, that colt donkey, and riding that donkey right over their clothes, and just coming right through into Jerusalem. And they're shouting this word, Hosanna, this as I said earlier, this declaration of praise, this I beg you to save us. Please save us. Please save us. Please save us. That's basically what they're saying over and over. Hosanna, Hosanna. And blessed is he who can save us. Blessed is he who will save us. Right? And you're the king. You're the leader. And you think, man, this is awesome. Right? This is exactly what Jesus had come for, right? Isn't it? But something happens. Just a few days. Here's what happens. Mark 15. Pilate answered them again. Now, Pilate is the Roman governor of Jerusalem. Jesus at this time has been arrested. The time of Mark 15 here, he's arrested. And something that happens that was a ritual, I guess you could say, or something that the Romans would do would be to give them a choice. Hey, this guy is guilty, and we've got another guilty guy, and you can choose which one you want. And that's what happens here in this passage. If you probably have heard the story about Barabbas is released and Jesus is taken as prisoner. And Pilate answered them again and says, what would you have me to do with him you call King of the Jews? What do you want me to do with this Jesus? Okay, you want this guy Barabbas instead of Jesus, but what do you want me to do with him? And they cried out, crucify him. Kill him. Murder him. Same crowd. Same place. Much of the same people. Right? Crucify him. Pilate said to them, why? What evil has he done? I can't find anything wrong with him. This guy's not guilty of anything. And they cried out even the more. Crucify him. Give him the penalty of someone who is guilty. Right? Guilty of the worst crimes when he was all innocent. You know, we read John chapter 12 and we read them, Hosanna, Hosanna, King of Israel, Son of David. Hear these great names being thrown out toward him. We see great action in them throwing out their garments and throwing down palm branches and just welcoming Jesus in. And then it just turns. Immediately. It's so fascinating. And here's the reason why, I think. They were wanting, and I said this earlier, they were wanting deliverance from Rome. Hey, man, I mean, you think about all that the Romans had and how they treated the Jews, the mistreatment of the Jews, Jesus says if a man asks you to walk a mile with him, you walk with him 2. What does that really mean? Well, what that means is if there was a Roman soldier going this way and there was a Jew going this way, and they walked down the road, and the Roman soldier had a pack, had something he was carrying, he could stop that Jew and say, "Hey, I'm going this way. I want you to carry this for a mile." It was Roman law. And that Jew had to carry that for a mile. Now, the Jew could say all he wanted to about, hey, well, listen, I'm going in the opposite direction of you. I'm so sorry. No, it's law. You got to do it. Or, hey, I'm kind of really pushing it for an appointment. I've got a guy that's got a bunch of sheep I'm trying to buy. Whatever was going on in that day and time. I haven't seen my family in days. I've got this going, I've got that. I got someone who's sick in my family, and I'm going to. Doesn't matter. It's law. You carry that pack for a mile going in the direction I'm going. They were wanting deliverance from that. And Jesus says, not what I'm here for. Don't we sometimes get in our minds what Jesus is here for? I mean, come on, don't we? I do. I tell you, Sean, what Jesus is here for my comfort, right? I mean, surely he don't want me to hurt. Surely he wants everything just to go fine and everything just to work out like I want it to work out. And everything just to be good for me, and I just don't have any issues, and I can just handle everything, and everything's great. Isn't that what Jesus wants for me, Sean? That's what I think. And so many times Jesus tells me, I'm not here for that. I get a preconceived idea and something going in my mind that I just think that Jesus is here for. And Jesus I got bigger plans than that. And this crowd thought Jesus was here to deliver them, and he was, but they thought he was here to deliver them from Rome. He's like, no, much bigger. I'm here to deliver you from your sin. Isn't that much bigger? You know, there's two things we can say about these two groups, or in talking about these two groups, you know, when we share the gospel with someone, or if you are, God is speaking to you about being saved, you know, there sometimes there's a curiosity, or like, okay, I didn't really know that Jesus died. I knew Jesus died, but I didn't know he died for me, you know, and we kind of come to that realization. And so we kind of experience I guess you could say, an enlightenment. The Spirit of God kind of walks us through a process of us understanding what salvation is all about. But after that whole, the gospel, I guess, the gospel becomes clear, then a choice has to be made. Does that make sense? A choice has to be made. I can remember, and I'm going to illustrate it by this way. I can remember one time, or when I was young and going to seminary, and I've told y'all this before. You know, I call myself the pastoral, or the poster boy for pastoral confusion, because I went to seminary and I got saved my second week of seminary. You're usually saved before you go to seminary. Just kind of, you know, well, I just kind of had debated things and this, that, and the other. It's a long story and everything. But second week of seminary, I get saved. Well, after I get saved, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why I came to seminary. Maybe God was just showing me that I need to be saved. And this is the whole purpose of me coming to seminary. And I thought, well, I'm only in the second week. I might as well finish out the semester. And I finished out the semester, and I still didn't really know why I was there. But I felt like I needed to go for another semester. And it was several semesters later before I felt like God was calling me to preach and calling me into ministry, and I gave my life to that. But in that time, I was really confused, and I was really trying to seek and say, God, what do you want me to do? God, I can remember, I was just telling Trevor the other day, I can remember, man, walking down the aisle, and on Sunday nights in particular, and just about every Sunday night at our church, man, I was down front because I'm just begging, God, what do you want? Do you want me to preach? Do you not want me? God, do you want me to be a pastor? What do you want? I'll do it. I'll do anything you want. I just want to know what it is. And man, for months, it just plagued on me. And it was, if I'm driving down the road and I was thinking about it, if I was talking to someone, I was asking them about it, and I was trying to get advice and all this type of stuff. And it was just and I finally came to a conclusion on something. And there's many other people have come to the same conclusion. There's only one way. There's only one way. I'm not going to do what God wants me to do. You know how that is? You know what that one way is? It's not because I didn't hear him, because he can speak very loud. He spoke loud enough to bring the universe into existence. I'm pretty sure he can speak loud enough for me to hear him. There's only one way I'm not going to do what he says to do. That's if I say no. That's it. And so I just waited, and I kept praying, and I kept following, and I kept doing what God wanted me to do. And one night I went down front to pray and to ask my normal Sunday night, I felt like a Sunday night ritual, God, what do you want me to do? And I got down on my knees, and God said, you ain't here to pray tonight. Yeah, I felt like that was what God was saying, and then I just felt like God was saying, you're not here to pray tonight. I want you to surrender. I want you to go. And so I went down front and talked to the pastor and said, man, God's calling me into something. God's calling me into ministry. I'm going. But there comes a point where it's just denial. Here, the crowd, they're kind of curious. I think they're kind of, the Pharisees, it's just pure out denial. We don't want anything to do with him. Now, here's the sad thing about it. That when God is dealing with you in that curious stage, if if you just mess around long enough and just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going, sooner or later you'll end up in denial. Does that make sense? You just get deeper, deeper, deeper. It's just easier to say no to God. Just easier to say no every time. Now, the disciples are a different story. The disciples do something that's really different. Now, it says in the passage that we read that Jesus came riding on a colt, on the donkey of a colt. It says in verse number 14, then Jesus, having found a young donkey, he sat on it. It is written, and it quotes the verse out of Zechariah, fear not, daughter of Zion, see your king is coming sitting on a donkey's colt. And his disciples didn't understand this, but it was later after he was glorified that they understood something. Now, let me kind of tell you a little bit more, and we'll go look at another passage. This is Luke, and this is talking about Jesus sending two of his disciples to go get this donkey. This is the same story, but it's earlier in the story. It's before he comes into Jerusalem, and he says this, hey, go over into the village opposite you, where as you enter, you will find a colt tied. Go find it. You're going to walk into the city over there, into this village, and you're going to find this colt tied on which no one has ever yet sat. That's very important because that kind of goes with the passage or with the prophecy out of Zechariah. And he says this, untie it and bring it here. To go into the city, you're just going to walk over there or into that village. Go over there into that village and you walk over there and you're going to see this young colt that nobody's ever ridden, tied up. Just untie it, bring it to me. Now, does that sound odd? Okay, all right. If anyone asks you why you are untying it, you shall say to them, because the Lord has need of it. Isn't that just an awesome response? You know? And so the disciples go, and it says in verse 32, those who were sent went and found it just as Jesus told them. Walk into the village. Hey, there's two disciples, and one of them says, hey, here's a colt that we're supposed to just untie and walk away with. You know, isn't that? I mean, this is highway robbery. This is thieving. I mean, this is stealing, right? You know, this is so odd that we're visiting to do this. Don't you feel weird? I feel weird. You know, in verse 33 says this, and as they were untying the colt, its owner said to them, what do you think you're doing? Paraphrase, right? Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they said, and this is how I read this. The Lord has need of it? You know, just kind of question. What did Jesus tell us to say? He told us to say the Lord has need of it. The Lord has need of it? I mean, can you just imagine this? And the guy says, oh, okay. Isn't that funny? Isn't that just so weird? Just so odd? And like I said, Zechariah, this is 500 years before Jesus is on the scene. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion, and cry aloud, O daughter of Jerusalem. See, your king is coming to you. He is righteous and able to deliver. He is humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, the offspring of a donkey. And here it is sometime later, after Jesus is glorified, after his resurrection, that these two confused disciples, because this is so weird what Jesus is asking us to do, right? Man, everything in my body says not to do this. I mean, we're going to get accused of stealing something, or we're going to get... Jesus asked us to do it. So let's go. You ever feel that way? Jesus asks you to do something. You say, man, what? You want me to do what? You want me to say that to them? You want me to go do that for them? You want me to give you that much, Jesus? So confusing, so different. And here they figure out, wait a minute, man. You and I, we helped fulfill that prophecy. Written 500 years before Jesus was even born. We were able to be a part of something that was so big. At the time, we were so confused. But I don't know about you, and the Bible doesn't say who these two disciples, I don't know who about you, man. I'm so glad we were obedient. I'm so glad we did exactly what Jesus told us to do. I want to tell you something. If Jesus is calling you to do something, when Jesus calls you to do something, because he calls us all to do something, that we are in this same situation when we don't understand and we don't know and we are just like, I can't believe, I've got to be mishearing this. This surely can't be what Jesus really wants me to do. When Jesus calls us to do something and we follow him in obedience, when we follow him in obedience, as blind of obedience as it may be, we never regret it. We never regret it. John chapter 12, verse 16 says this, his disciples did not understand these things at first, but when Jesus was glorified, they remembered that these things were written about him, and they had done these things to him. In other words, that they had crucified him. You know, here's the thing about all three of these groups of people. The Pharisees that were rejecting him, the crowd that was wanting deliverance, but they were just wanting deliverance from a nation or from Rome. They were seeking the wrong deliverance. And the disciples who were just obedient, Jesus knew their hearts. All of them. Jesus knew their hearts. And you know, here's the thing about it. He didn't say to those Jewish Pharisees, well, hey, listen, I'm going to go die for my disciples, but it ain't time for you guys. No, he died for all of them. Hey, you crowd, you just wanted me to satisfy you right now. You're just wanting something right now. So I'm going to go die on the cross, but it ain't for you. No, it's for you too. You can be obedient. You can be disobedient. You can think he's great. You can think he's horrible. You can think he's God in the flesh. You can think he was just a man. Guess what? He died for you. He knows your heart. He knew their hearts, and he knows your heart. And he loves you. He loves you so much that he died for you. So let me ask you, which one of the three are you? Are you denying him because he's trying to, in your mind, ruin your life? Are you wanting just some type of gratification right now, and you think if God would just give me this and leave me alone, my life would be just great? No, he's not doing that, so therefore I don't want anything to do with him. Or are you just walking around, maybe feel like you're stumbling in the dark a little bit? Because you don't really understand everything that's going on. But you know what he's asked you to do. And you're just going to be obedient and just to follow him. And just take one step at the time. And just see what it is that he has for you. Hey, listen. You'll be like the disciples. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. He's a Savior that will change your life and change your heart if you'll just obey. God, as we bow in your presence, you are good to us. We thank you and praise you for sending your Son to die for us. Lord, you know every heart here just like you knew every heart then. Lord, if there's some here that have never accepted you as Savior, I pray that this morning would be the morning they become like the disciples and they become obedient. And even though it may seem confusing, it may seem difficult, it may seem like this doesn't make any sense, that they would set all that aside, be obedient to you, and follow you. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. As we stand, listen, if you need to be saved, if you need to pray and just ask God for wisdom and for guidance, this altar's open. And for you this morning, will you come? Will you follow Him? Will you be obedient as we sing?
Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take Him at His word, just to rest upon His promise, just to know the saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I prove Him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him more. Oh, how sweet to trust in Jesus, just to trust His cleansing blood, just in simple faith to plunge me beneath the healing cleansing flood. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I proved Him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him more.
I want to encourage you as you go out through your week or go into this new week, you can trust Him. You can trust Him. Be obedient. Follow Him. Continue to pray for Joe Foster, Joe Dillahunty, Tom Foley, and Larry Patrick, as well as Matt Rogers is making some recovery and doing well, but we want to continue to pray for him. Miss Nelda Krim has, she broke her hip and had a pin put in.